ahead on 12 News, a plan to bring new life and new jobs to a vacant Golden Valley car dealership. Then, how do local stores feel about a proposal to tax clothing? We head to Maple Grove for the answer. But first, the latest on a shooting that could leave a Brooklyn Park teen paralyzed. 12 News starts right now. A Brooklyn Park family is holding on to hope that their son's condition will improve.
17-year-old Nakia Anderson was shot in the back last week. Reporter Sonia Goins spoke with his family today, as well as police, who say there are new developments in the case.
This is his youngest brother, and this is their oldest brother. He's around 18.
Which one is it?
This is Nakia.
Life is anything but routine for LaTasha Bell.
He's mainly known for just being able to bring a smile to anyone's face. He can make anybody laugh.
On January 6th, she got a phone call no parent wants to get.
She said that he had been shot, so I asked her, was he okay? Was he talking? And she said, he says he can't move.
Bell says her son, 17-year-old Nakia Anderson, had just left a party with friends when he was shot here at Brookdale Drive and Welcome Avenue North.
The guys pulled out a gun, and when the young man pulled out a gun, him and his friends started to run. So they chased him down and shot him. I was terrified. The biggest fear I've ever worried about was losing my two kids. They're the only two children I have.
Nakia was shot in his lower back. The bullet traveled through his body.
They know it had pierced his lung, and it traveled through his spinal canal and lodged in his neck.
He's on life support at North Memorial Hospital, and his family says he might be paralyzed.
He lost a tremendous amount of blood. Over 50% of his blood was lost by the time he had made it to the hospital.
Nakia's family is taking turns keeping vigil at the hospital, but now his mother is worried about losing her job for taking too much time off.
My job is paying for his bills, his medications, and everything. I definitely need my job. I just needed some time to grasp this and be there for him.
LaTasha says a higher power is helping her family.
We stay together and we stay in prayer, and that's been getting us through.
She says that strength has helped her to forgive the people responsible.
I decided within my heart to forgive these children and to know that the Lord will help them, and hopefully this is an eye-opener for a lot of people to realize that we have to do something as parents. We have to stop this.
Now, Brooklyn Park Police told me they arrested 2 men on Monday in connection with the shooting. Right now, they're in the Hennepin County Jail and are expected to be charged by noon tomorrow. Renee?
Sonia, thank you. The husband of the woman trapped in her vehicle for 18 hours on a Plymouth pond says his wife is expected to make a full recovery. Ron Breberg says his wife, Nancy, will be in the hospital at HCMC for a few more weeks until her feet recover from frostbite. The Centerville woman was trapped after her SUV veered off the road and landed on its side in a frozen Plymouth drainage ditch Monday night. Nancy Breberg spent the next 18 hours stuck inside the vehicle until Saturday, when 20-year-old Jeff Reset spotted the vehicle as he biked home from work. Ron Breberg said he called Reset Monday night to thank him for saving his wife's life.
He doesn't want any credit or anything, but, well, I said, you're going to get credit either way because you're a hero as far as we're concerned. And I said, you could... I don't know if I should call you a hero or an angel, but it's one of the two, I know that.
Breberg says he's looking forward to the weeks ahead when he and his wife can thank Reset in person.
The Osseo Fire Department has dealt with its share of turmoil. Last April, the city fired its fire chief, Mark Lind, a decision that angered some of the members of the community. Now the city is moving ahead with hiring a new fire chief, despite concerns about a pending lawsuit from the former chief. Monday night, the city council voted to hire Pat McGrain for a 3-year term. The vote was 3-2. McGrain had been serving as the interim fire chief. The new chief said he doesn't plan to make any changes to its operations. McGrain says he's looking forward to taking on the job permanently.
I've been here on the fire department for 17 years. Lived in here 20 years. All my brother-in-laws been on the department, so I'd be pretty proud. You know, that's kind of the history.
Council members Alan Hartkoff and Bonnie Heinen voted against the hiring. They felt the city could be in trouble hiring a new chief given the pending litigation. Osseo City Administrator Doug Reeder said there would be no legal issues with hiring a new chief. Well, should we pay a sales tax on a sweater or a pair of shoes?
Last week, lawmakers introduced two bills reigniting that debate. One imposes a sales tax on single clothing items worth more than $200. Only the amount above $200 would be taxed. Another bill imposes a sales tax on all clothing items, but it also proposes a tax credit for families of four making less than $40,000. Supporters say either bill could help stabilize the state's tax system, but some retailers and shoppers say it'll hurt their bottom line.
People get really excited when they come in and they see local.
When Liz Schiller opened her clothing boutique, Juniper, at the shops at Arbor Lakes, she knew she offered something unique.
A lot of those brands that have just extra details that kind of just make them a little bit more special than your average thing that you see at a normal department store.
But she admits it's not just the rare designers and one-of-a-kind styles that bring customers in from out of town.
The fact that we have no sales tax in Minnesota kind of makes Minnesota and Arbor Lakes in particular a shopping destination. We've seen tour groups from Canada come through in buses and spend weekends here just to shop.
Schiller says if the state decides to tack a sales tax onto clothing, local retailers will lose business.
If we have sales tax and we lose our competitive edge, they might as well just stay home or shop online, or there's no reason for them to come out.
That would probably hinder some purchases.
Customer Carrie Alquist says a sales tax on clothes would make her think twice before buying.
I feel like probably it will definitely make it so that you go once a month rather than kind of buying a few things here and there, kind of making a lot of those big purchases maybe not as often.
Taxes are the price we pay for a civilized society.
Senator Ann Rest says a sales tax is a necessary evil, even on a necessity like clothing.
We have moved away from having a stable system of 1/3 sales tax, 1/3 income tax, 1/3 property tax, and instead have tilted the tax burden on property taxpayers.
She says the two sales tax bills she introduced at the Capitol last week would broaden the tax base and could lower the state's 6.875% tax rate by about half a percentage point. Liz Schiller says she hopes Rest is right.
If it goes through, I hope they're right. And I hope that people are still encouraged to spend.
Both bills are designed to protect lower-income consumers. Senator Rest also points out the goal of the two bills isn't to raise more revenue, but to stabilize the tax system. Both bills will get their first hearing Wednesday.
Golden Valley could be getting a new car dealership. The city's planning commission is recommending approval of preliminary plans for a new Mini Cooper dealership. It would be built on the site of the former Oldsmobile building just west of Menards. The new Mini Cooper dealership would replace an existing one in Bloomington. Here's a photo of what the dealership could look like. The proposed dealership is significantly larger than the former Oldsmobile building. Representatives for Mini Cooper say the new dealership could create up to 45 full-time jobs in Golden Valley. Coming up next, a unique look into how doctors and nurses sharpen their skills.
We'll take you to a place that has one of the most important tools healthcare professionals use for their training. Then later in sports, we check in on the Maple Grove girls basketball team, a team hitting its stride halfway through the conference schedule.
But first, it's a look at your AccuWeather forecast.
Nearly every trip to the hospital involves putting your life in the hands of trained professionals.
But even those trained medical professionals need to keep their skills fresh. In today's Health Check, Delane Cleveland shows us how Hennepin County Medical Center is ensuring that its employees are prepared for every scenario.
Situated in the lower level of HCMC sits a room that, at first glance, looks just like a normal operating room. But take a closer look at what's strapped down on the beds, and you'll see that this room has some unique features.
This room is designed to be our high-fidelity simulation room to replicate either an operating room or the trauma area of the emergency department.
Gene Streck runs this brand new simulation room, which opened January 7th. It will be used primarily by HCMC's nurses and physicians.
That's basically the whole idea, is to gain new skills, sharpen skills that are existing, and polish up on skills that, it's a procedure you just don't do a lot of.
Human patient simulators in the form of high-tech mannequins are one of the most important tools these healthcare professionals will use for their training.
He blinks, his eyes react, he can sweat, he can cry, he can seize. He can have foam coming out of his mouth. He can have blood coming out of his ears.
The mannequins can also talk.
Oh, I can't breathe and my chest hurts.
That's just a small sampling of what Streck can make them do from his control room overlooking the simulation center.
So they're getting the actions of working with a real person.
However, there's a few things the mannequins can't do.
He won't poop, he won't vomit, thank God.
Prior to construction of the simulation center, Streck says training would occur in classroom settings or at outside locations.
It brings physicians, nurses, EMTs, paramedics, healthcare providers into the actual moment that they would be in, as opposed to sitting in a classroom per se and just having a discussion.
He says working on these lifelike mannequins will give healthcare professionals the skills they need to work on the real people.
That eventually will save lives and prevent medical errors.
In Minneapolis, Delane Cleveland, 12 News.
HCMC's education programs are expected to train more than 20,000 caregivers each year. Coming up, a Maple Grove art exhibit with a cozy and comfortable feel.
But first in sports, after 2 December losses, the Hopkins boys basketball team is now on a roll. John Jacobson has their story and more next. John Jacobson now joins us with sports. And John, the Hopkins boys basketball team, they're rallying back, but it's a rough road.
Always a good team at Hopkins. A little bit different club this year, and but winning as usual. That's not unexpected. The Hopkins boys basketball team returned only one start of the season and lost a pair of games in December. With a tough Lake Conference schedule looming, the Royals are striving to reach their top level. Jason Malillo reports.
Hopkins will travel to St. Cloud Tech on Tuesday night for its first game in 10 days.
You know, it's actually pretty good. We really need to work.
Playing tough defense has been the Royals' primary focus during the layoff, but Coach Ken Novak Jr. is also trying to get his team to stop thinking so much, to play with what he calls conscious competence.
We kind of have we would call it an unconscious ignorance, which we don't even realize that we're not understanding what's going on. We're trying to turn that into a conscious ignorance where they at least understand what they're doing. And hopefully we can get to a conscious competence where we get better at it.
We think too much and then it's too late when we think it's too late to make the decisions we need to make.
Hopkins is pretty light on experience this winter. Jamal Davis is the only returning starter, and the Royals are sometimes rotating as many as 12 players through the lineup.
We have a lot of talented guys. I just think the energy brought off the energy in the game is needed. So if the players in the game are bringing the same energy because they're tired, it's necessary for another player to come in and bring the energy that they once had, but they don't have because they're tired.
Hopkins is not accustomed to losing much in the regular season, but the Royals did fall to Tartan and Apple Valley in December. But the fact is, nothing is won or lost in December or January or February. And right now, Hopkins is just trying to gear up for what they expect to be a bruising Lake Conference schedule. Jason Malillo, 12 Sports.
The Royals' first conference game is against Wayzata on January 29th. Coach Ken Novak Jr. is 2 wins away from 700 career victories. He will be just the 4th coach in state history to reach that milestone. Maple Grove's girls basketball team is gaining momentum. As Jay Wilcox reports, the Crimson hopes to build on their recent success.
They're putting it all together as we hit the halfway point of the Northwest Suburban Conference schedule. Maple Grove is on a 4-game winning streak entering Tuesday night with a 9-4 overall mark. That's after a 12-15 season last winter.
It's so nice, especially compared to last year. We had definite struggles, and this year it's like the team chemistry is so much different, and it's just coming a lot easier, and we're just enjoying ourselves a lot more, I think.
I think we're moving the basketball really well. I think we're a perimeter shooting team. People know that. We've got shooters that can score from the outside, but you got to get them open looks, and so in order to do that, you got to move the basketball.
Included in the win streak, a 12-point victory over rival Osseo.
It was huge, yeah. I think nobody really knew what to think going into it as far as how it would end up. I think we both knew, like with rival games, it's always played close. And I think everyone was really happy to pull it out, especially because it was the pink out, so that's always fun.
The teams that beat the Crimson are pretty solid. Park Center, Centennial, Edina, and Minnetonka. And playing those kind of games can only help.
I mean, I think they were good for us, all in all. They really helped us kind of figure out what our weaknesses were playing against those really good opponents. And that helps early because then we can, work on that.
We knew that going to Minnetonka, that's a tough game. They're playing really, really well. But we played one of our best games there. I thought our kids played fantastic there. So we learn from that, and you grow from that, and you use those losses to become better.
And now as the second half of the conference schedule begins, Maple Grove hopes to push toward a title. Jay Wilcox, 12 Sports.
After hosting Anoka Tuesday night, Maple Grove has another home game Friday against Blaine. The 9th-ranked Gophers men's basketball team takes on number 5 Michigan Thursday night. The team's second leading scorer and rebounder of the season is Cooper High School graduate Rodney Williams Jr. We caught up with Rodney last week on a story for this week's Sports Jam show. We first saw Rodney as a high school freshman at Robbinsdale Cooper. He was reserved for a Hawks team that finished as state runner-up in Class 4A. Down low to Rodney Williams Jr., who scores and is fouled. 2 years later, he was the main guy for Cooper as the Hawks again reached the state tournament. Those days bring back great memories for the 21-year-old college senior.
You know, my junior, senior year, I got to play with a lot of guys, you know, that I grew up with, in Quincy Bethea and Joe Bryden, you know, Jamal Roberts and all those guys. And I think just being able to play with, you know, friends that I've been playing with since the 3rd, 4th grade, you know, that really made that experience special.
Watch the rest of the Rodney Williams story, plus the top prep highlights from the past week on Sports Jam. There's 3 times daily through Wednesday here on Channel 12. He was really matured as a college player and hoping for big things for his Gophers yet to come this year.
Fun to watch him through.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, John. Still ahead, patterns and precision in Maple Grove.
We weave together a colorful ending to our show when we come back. And finally, it might be a quilt lovingly made by your grandmother or your aunt, but is it art?
The answer is a resounding yes over at the Maple Grove Arts Center. Their new exhibit called Fabrications showcases the work of local artists and includes more than 50 quilts, weavings, feltings, and embroidered pieces. The works range from traditional to contemporary, and you'll even find a little vintage macrame. Remember that? Making a comeback from the 60s and 70s. The exhibit curator says she hopes the display makes people think a little bit differently about the quilts and textiles in their own homes.
There's a lot of skill and talent goes into this, and I don't think people always appreciate when they're given something, how much time goes into it and how much skill is involved. And I hope by having something like this, people are going to look at the pieces they've been given by their auntie or their grandma, and instead of sort of shoving it to the back of the cupboard, get it out and reassess it.
The Fabrications exhibit runs through February 6th at the Maple Grove Arts Center. And that does it for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Community Corner is up next.